But our boss, Dan, went away on holiday for 2 weeks, and we had to order all of the swag. And me and Emma was like, this is our moment to do something. So we printed these bags, tote bags, for an event that said annual appraisals are so 2000 and...
No, we're so over.
Oh, we're so over annual appraisals with our little logo on it. And it's nothing offensive, right? Like, it's such a like gentle message, but like for us it was like, you know, picking it up. And then Dan got back from holiday and he saw the bags and he was like, woo, okay.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids. The art of positioning. Let's freaking go.
Now's my time and I won't hesitate.
When you rebrand, you're asking customers who've trusted you for years to recognize you all over again. You're breaking the mental space you've earned in their minds. Meanwhile, your marketing spend triples trying to reestablish what you just threw away. The move agile business owners make, repositioning without that rebrand risk. Same trusted identity, new market position that competitors can't copy. Check out the episode notes to find out more. So today's episode is about pushing back on what it looks like for marketing and brand to work together so that you're not wasting marketing dollars or them not getting into a fight. You know you're destined for greatness when a monkey double-handedly butt grabs you next to a temple. And that's what happened to Emma Davies, which, I mean, makes all the sense. Since she's CEO, founder, marketer, and podcaster in the marketing and internal HR comm space, he knew, didn't he?
Mm. Oh, yeah, and that was before my rise to greatness. So he was like, I'm going to get in now so that she talks about it in the future.
Exactly. I mean, did you get his name? Like,
I don't know, but he certainly didn't get mine.
Oh, that's, yeah, wow. Played for the two hands. So your two businesses are Tesmia AI, Tesmia.ai and Badassery. Is that the right? Do you get that a lot?
I know. I picked two business names that no one can ever pronounce, and that is my own fault. So, my first baby is Advocatude, and that is a fractional marketing consultancy, and then Thesmia.ai, which is the internal comms tool for HR people.
Now everybody knows how to pronounce it, and I shall proceed into the pronunciation, like just to...
It's okay. You've got my name.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. You've been thrown just by Rita's surname, so it's fine.
Exactly. And so, you know what? I'm sensing an animal theme here today with our next guest, being a fish and plant whisperer.
I like that.
Rita Sudamantantaite or those titties.
Some of them titties, whatever you like.
Yeah, exactly. She also brings the big guns of fractional CMOing, co-founding Lava Metrics, and co-hosting with Emma the Blame It on Marketing podcast. So fish whispering is totally a thing, right?
I'm good with all animals. It's just we've been lately obsessed with fish, as if you're watching this, you can see a tank behind, which I've set up for Emma ages ago. It looks so good. Well done. Yeah, just all animals in general. I'd live on a farm without killing them if I could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you bring that into like the data and AI for like humaning, to make sure that that's all aligned.
It's all balance, you know. It's like how do you offset your use of AI? Well, you know,
spend time with animals,
save the fish, plant things in the ground. She actually also owns a field in Lithuania, which is like her.
I'm currently growing elephant garlic. It's going to be a good harvest this year.
Yeah.
Elephant garlic. Is it just ginormous garlic?
Yeah, each clove is like this big.
Oh my God. Wow.
Very exciting. It's just the balance, right? My entire life is in front of a computer, so then you have to like find the opposite to spend your time in otherwise. So it's stuff to do with your hands, tending to things, caring for things, it makes sense in my head.
Good balance. I mean, okay, speaking of balances, the marketing and brand myth, they're not the same shit, guys. Like,
not in balance.
And, I'm sure you guys have faced the same thing, that, people have confused the two. So what, in your opinion, is the actual relationship? Who owns what?
Big question. Should we start with the difference between brand and marketing? Brand is what you are, and marketing is how you promote yourself. At least in my head, I think. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of hate the word brand because you instantly go to like what it looks like, and I don't think that definitely doesn't do brand justice. And I get we've got to have a word to describe it, but for me, brand is what everything about your organization, like everything across everything, and marketing is just how you promote that, how you put that out into the world, and and obviously there's overlap between things like positioning and tone of voice and all that sort of stuff.
And you can't really do marketing if you don't have a brand.
You've got to have
nothing
brand
to market, right?
Exactly.
By definition.
I mean, the way I see it is like brand is like the why and the what, and marketing brings that like how, where, to the direction. So what do you think? I mean, in terms of who owns what, like, the brand is bringing, this brand voice, and from your side, like what elements do you bring in? Like how do you measure that difference, or what is your blanking on the word for that?
I think everyone in the company is responsible for the brand. And when I say that, it is that whole weird, messy bit, which is like brand is everything from the way you talk about yourself, the way you present yourself, the product, the way that you treat your customers, everything, the way you treat your employees. So everybody is responsible for that. But the mistake that's so often made is that there'll be like a brand person who's like, take brand seriously, or it's the marketers being like, take the brand seriously, don't do this, brand guidelines, blah, 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 blah. But actually it's the CEO who should really ultimately own and be the kind of like guardian of the brand, like the ultimate guardian of the brand. And that person should really understand the full spectrum of what brand means. And then it's marketing's job to kind of maybe protect aspects of the brand. But in my mind, everyone is responsible.
I agree with the everybody is responsible part. I think at the end of the day, everybody needs to be aware. And that's one of the big like red flags of if somebody comes in and they're trying to hoard all that information about like, okay, so this is what the brand stands for, or this is what like, what the marketing is currently doing. I do think that there needs to be people, they're accountable. Because say, for example, the CEO, right? Or even the founder, they've got a lot of balls that they're juggling. So for them to be that one person to take on, okay, so this is our brand direction and values and all that thing. Like you always want to have that person helping them stay accountable there.
Yeah, and I think all the different bits of an organization use brand in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so for marketing, it's like the visuals and how we talk about stuff. But for, I don't know, customer support, it might be like how quickly you resolve things or like how helpful you are. But it's still part of your brand. So each head of those departments would be using different bits, and I would assume they're responsible for looking after the bits they use, and not fucking with them. But the CEO at the end of the day will be the one to kind of set what the standard is. So if customer support is doing things that they shouldn't be doing because it's not aligned to the brand, which is also, by the way, a term that people use to describe a company, the brand. So then the CEO has to step in, right? Because it's their job to uphold whatever standard that they want to operate at. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I know we've been like brewing and stirring between our 2 episodes about the anti rebrands that we've been bonding on, and how much businesses are really focused on, hey, rebrand is a fix, or design first as the fix. I mean, what have you guys been seeing regarding the impact of this design first or rebrands on marketing and the business?
Most of the time, it's not good.
No. I mean, we've got some really good examples of this, right? A client that I did some work for quite a while back, they wanted to rebrand. They didn't only want to rebrand, but they wanted to change the name of the business, right? Super risky. The company was named after a really famous film. So they always had this like really weird issue with SEO anyway, because they literally, like for like, it's like you search that you get the film. So there was always that thing of like, okay, well, we can't compete against that. But equally, they had built up this reputation under this name, and then they've changed their name. And like the whole exercise for us from an audit perspective was like, okay, what damage are you going to do from a kind of like brand and awareness point of view and an SEO, all of this stuff. And it was at my advice not to go that direction, to maybe kind of try and shift a little bit, but not go the whole hog. And equally, it's like a membership organization. So if members don't know your name, you can't expect people to remember your name if you change it and you completely rebrand. And I think it should have been a bit more of a gentle transition. And what you see is so many companies do this like really like almost like 360 on their brand, where it's like an instant, like I'm going to change aggressive rebrand, and it's the visual thing. And then obviously in this company's case, the name. And it's like, you've just lost. I always see it, and I say this a lot, is I see it like it's like a game of Monopoly. Marketing is like Monopoly, right? You've been paying and you've got hotels, and all of a sudden you lose all those hotels and you're not making your buck anymore. You're not going past go, you're not collecting £200, and then you are fucked. You're fucked, you're out of the game, right? And it's like you've lost all that momentum. So if you all of a sudden start dismantling those things, you just lose all this traction overnight. And then it's going to cost you so much money and time to get back to where you were in the market, like your position in the market, because you have made like a categorical error with your branding.
I think there's also a different side to design first rebrands, and it's the impact on the marketers. So there's the impact of like, okay, no one knows us anymore, sure, but there's stuff like very practical stuff, like if it's a design first website rebuild, I can bet my booty on the fact that the dev is not going to be building for a marketer to be using the website, changing it, the right headers, H1s, H2s, H3s, layouts, the right speed of the site, like all of those practical things, because the design is the first thing. It needs to look a certain way, but it doesn't function in how it should. And then also like extending to that, if you're doing like a rewrite of the website, a lot of the time when you get into that, you're not considering the SEO implications. So you're going to rewrite the website, and then all of your SEO is going to tank, and you're going to be scrambling to get it back. But if you've rewritten your whole website, it's now impossible to basically backtrack to where you were. So there's lots of like considerations that there needs to be, and like really practical things. Like, for example, devs don't like HubSpot forms. Like, go fuck yourself. You're putting HubSpot forms everywhere because that's what I use. Like, I don't care if you don't like it. Like, genuinely, it's not about that, you know? So things like that, like really practical stuff, I think it gets really impacted if marketers aren't super involved in the work.
Oh, and then the last thing I was going to say is also there's this assumption that when you change your visuals as a company, people care. Like, people do not give a flying fuck about your rebrand. And then what ends up happening is people spend big bucks on these like brand videos that are like, look at our new brand, da, da, da. And it's like, and you've got like, I have seen this myself. You've got PPC budget being spent to get people to watch a video about your fucking rebrand. I mean, what a waste of money, time and effort. so even just that assumption that your audience cares is like, I mean, that is the first.
By the way, where
start
to be as well. So like, B2B, it's like extra. Nobody cares about it.
I mean, in B2C, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think rebrands in B2C become the topic of like conversation because they're B2C brands. Like if you look at the Pretty Little Thing rebrand that went on, like so many people were like, oh, what have you done? This is wrong. Why have you tried to turn yourself into something that you're not? The Jaguar one, another really big example of that. So everybody's talking about them because they're in popular culture. In B2B, you ain't in popular culture. You're just not. So I think, the assuming that anybody cares is like a really, I mean, that's the first place to start.
Right? Like it's just ego. I've spent, I don't know, 30K on a rebrand and another 30K on a website rebuild. I must tell everyone about it because look at it, it's so pretty. And it's like, literally no one cares. I know it's upsetting. We all think people care about businesses. They don't. They really don't.
They're like, does the thing you do solve the problem I have? That is the only thing they give a shit about.
And how much is it?
And how much is it?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, yes, you're building a world around it, but something like the Staples, their rebrand, where it was just like a staple, like it moved, and like they had a whole audience, and they were like, "What? Like, why was this like all this hype?" And of course, the team is excited because they're getting paid to be excited. Hello. What is the point? And even Pretty Little Things, like I was sent that and looked through the website, and I was like, what is with all these like words like legacy and what does that mean? You're not saying anything.
I feel like Pretty Little Things is a perfect example of who they want to be, but who they're absolutely not. And they're trying to push the rebrand to be this like old money aesthetic. It's fast fashion. It's basically Shein 2.0, like, and everyone knows this. I don't know why they're trying to go for like a luxe feel. I guess if they start selling luxe products, sure, but they're not. They're still selling the same stuff.
Which is, it's trying hard. So that's rebranding, but when does brand strategy actually help marketing, and when is it just expensive fluff?
So I think where it helps us is when it does incorporate what we think a brand strategy should have, where it is across the mix. So where it is things like it is helping us decide the direction of the product, where it is helping us think through like, okay, what's the customer experience like? What's the sales experience like? What's the employee experience like? And therefore, what should the marketing look like that marries up with that? That's when it's useful to us. When it's not useful is if it's literally brand guidelines. I mean, yeah, great, thanks, we all need them, but whatever. So like tactics, basically. I don't need tactics in marketing. Professional marketers get that. Like we know what to do with brand guidelines and tone of voice. So that's where it's not useful. And also when it's too ethereal and too far removed from what you actually sell and do. Like I have read some brand strategies before where I've just been like, I don't even know how to make sense of this. Like I had read one once where it's just like, people's opinion of the brand is that it is dusty. Cool, great, okay, that's so helpful. How should I not be dusty? Like, it's not helpful.
So they mean old, right? Like,
yeah, because they're not talking. But then it would be different if to give a proper example, if they said dusty, but then they said people feel like it's dusty, as in the process around customer support feels outdated. People have to speak to a person. They can't log online to log a thing. They can't do this. They can't do that. It's all like this, like a telephone call.
Stiff or
yeah,
like,
if it's real tangible stuff, perfect. But if it's not, I mean, what can I do with that? Dusty. I mean, it made me just want to make ridiculous memes and like post them online in the hope that the brand agency would see it and be like, that's not quite what we meant.
Oh my God. And
not good advice.
That's, thinking back to our recording of, your episode, which by the way, everybody who's listening, we need to, go listen to the other episode. But the thing at the end where you're like, oh, hey, you know, what's the thing you're most frustrated about? I thought about it afterwards. I'm like, no, actually, I'm most frustrated about people just posting things which you're not actually getting any clear actions out of it. They're like, hey, here's a template, here's whatever, but like, what can you actually go and do rather than post more or like, you know, do this more? What? No. So, okay, we're going to do this red flags in 2 parts, but what are your red flags when business owners should fire their brand consultant?
Ooh,
Yeah.
spicy.
Yeah.
They don't talk to any customers.
Just one red flag.
The brand strategist comes in and they're rebranding, but they haven't talked to a single customer.
That's just the big red, like
big red. That's a big no. When they start using words like vibe, like what's the vibe? I feel like this is the vibe. I'm like, this is a red flag to me because I don't care what some marketers say, because I know there's this like trend about talking like vibe marketing, vibe coding. Fuck that shit. Marketing's not about vibes. Marketing is art and science, and the science bit, the maths bit is undeniable. So like if they're not asking for data and they're just talking about their feelings and how everybody feels about stuff, that's no good for me. No.
Okay. So let's flip the tables. When do you think marketing campaigns destroy brands? And what should people watch out for? Or what should business owners watch out for?
One of them, and this is maybe more of a B2C example, but when marketing has completely not paid attention to like cultural references. We talked about this yesterday, but that is marketing's fault because they've not paid attention to, because if you do your brand strategy properly, you know, it should say things about, you know, like how you treat your customers, how you treat employees, the business's stance on like ethical stuff, behaviors that you should display. And marketing can railroad that in like a heartbeat. I think
20 seconds.
the Sydney Sweeney jeans advert that is going around.
It's still out. They haven't taken it down.
Classic. Well, because people are freaking talking about it, aren't they? It's like the classic example of like marketing going, oh, let's do this, and have not paid attention to like the cultural sensitivities. So I think, again, destruction of the brand right there.
For me, I think, and this is, I've seen it so many times, and both sales and marketing can do this depending on what side it's coming from, but basically spamming. So buying lists and then just emailing 300,000 people, or having teams of SDRs that are constantly hounding potential customers. Like one of the companies I used to work at, we used to get emails to the marketing team being like, stop fucking contacting me. It wasn't marketing contacting them, it was SDRs, and we'd be like having to like put in notes, and like we had a really great marketing team and we're doing really great things. And it was just completely ruining all of that work that we were doing because the SDRs were just killing it on the phones, not in the positive way.
Yeah, it's that whole thing, isn't it? It's like if you're doing your brand justice, you've paid attention to all those things, including the employee bit as well. Like if you've got a sales team that are behaving like dickheads, like Guta's saying, like that's destroying your brand. And marketing can
do the same, though. We can spam, you know, as much as we like. So it does happen.
In the same way that you could make the buyer experience really awful on your website. You can insist that you can't see the pricing. You can't, you know, if you just keep putting those barriers up, but yet your brand and your ethos as a business is all about like, you know, customer centric experience, which a lot of B2B businesses should be thinking about, because that's going to be your differentiator in the future. That is, and you do all that, you're not thinking about your brand. And I think brand and reputation are so like in the same bucket for me that I'm like, you start fucking about with the brand, you start fucking about with your reputation. Yeah,
I mean, if you think about, I think that you can go a long way before properly like destroying your brand. You know, and I think that American Eagle will use this leverage, because people are talking about it from both sides, right? And that's also why they haven't taken it down, as Ruta, you just mentioned. It's like, well, people are talking about, like, they have strong opinions. The biggest thing is like, okay, are you still following your values? And that's when, you know, you get that break in trust, you get that break in loyalty. Or, you know, if you suddenly completely change what you look like, then that's the thing. So what would be, you know, 1 or 2 red flags to fire your marketing?
Oh,
No, we can't talk about that.
We've seen this, because Ruta and I have done a lot of cleanup operations for terrible marketing agencies and, you know, and things like that. Marketing teams, you know, where, let's say, for example, like this often happens actually when that person is visual first and they've ignored the data actually, because, you know, so yeah, I think big red flag is someone who is not willing to try to understand the data that sits behind all of the stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Big red flag, big no-no for me.
I think, I don't know if it's a personal thing, but for me, when people are too rigid, so if there is a way you do something, or there is some, like, a thing, even like your job title, like you've always done this thing and now I'm asking you to do something else and you just can't, like you physically are revulsed and you can't do the thing. I find that really, really difficult, because for the most part, you basically have to do what makes impact in marketing, and that changes all the time. And I have met people that are kind of very settled into what they're doing, and it makes it really hard on the rest of the team to do anything different.
Yeah.
And the one that sort of fits into this, but it's like someone who insists upon going through with something come hell or high water, or like, and then doesn't ask for isn't interested in feedback. Like, and when I say feedback, I mean constructive feedback. I don't mean like, good job, well done. That's useless for everybody. But like someone who doesn't actively seek constructive feedback is a red flag for me. So like, you should be asking, like, this is the plan. This is your opportunity to feed back. You know, like marketers constantly talk about stuff getting railroaded, but if you're not actually willing to say, like, here's an opportunity for you to feed back, I'm going to give you this confined, constricted amount of time to do that, then yeah, that's bad. Like, that's when you end up with the Sydney Sweeney jeans advert, because you probably didn't ask anybody.
Can I add one more to the list?
Yeah.
So it's kind of to do with the first one, but when somebody's only interested in the thing that they do.
Oh.
So when you're in a team, let's say you do the SEO and you're only ever interested in SEO, you don't talk about anything else, you're not interested in what anyone else is doing, or you do the PPC and it's the same thing, or you do the website and it's the same thing, you can't work like that. Like, that's not conducive to good teamwork and good marketing outcomes.
Yeah, I want to poke on that idea of the wild ideas and not seeking feedback. What if it is pushing the bounds of the comfort zone? So where is that balance of, hey, you know, we want to be edgy. Okay, that's probably not the right words, you know, just before anyone loses their mind, but, you know, we want to be edgy. We want to try something different. Surprise me, or surprise the audience. So where is that balance? That maybe, say, for example, others in the business might not feel comfortable or might not agree. How do you balance that?
Taking people on the journey, right? Like, there's a reason why you've decided you want to be edgy, and you explain that reason, and then you show the thing that you've made, and you take feedback, and you say, you know what, guys, we're going to be doing this thing, but obviously I want us to be the most comfortable and happy with how we're taking this approach, and let's figure that out. And usually that's in the realm of testing and small experiments, you know, in changing things bit by bit. So there's ways to get around pretty much doing anything if you think about it and you are a little strategic. So yeah, I would say that's my input. There's obviously difficult people that will railroad shit in the last minute, but that's the people you really take on in the beginning, and like you make a mental note they need to be in the room, in the process. But once you have a couple of fuck ups basically in the company, you know who those people are, and you can adjust accordingly.
You've got to earn people's trust, and that's the people internally and your audience.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like on the flip side of this, I have worked with a company where the founder was always like, we can just push this. Let's keep pushing. And our ICP is not an audience that responds well to that necessarily. So it was a journey. Like I worked with that business for 2 years. So it's gently nudging. Every campaign we did, we keep nudging, we keep pushing, and we see what the response is. Like you say, little experiments, little like even just running like LinkedIn ads with like positioning experiments to see which positioning like people respond better to, or like which piece of content people respond better to, which is the one that they go for, so that you can nudge your messaging in the right direction. Because like not every audience responds well to that. And also it's like, I think people look at some of the bigger, in particular in B2B, there's some of the mistake that people make is they look at some of the B2C brands and they go, well, if they're doing that, why can't I talk like Aldi on Instagram? Because you're not Aldi.
Can I give a good example of the swag thing we did at Clear Review?
Oh yeah.
So when we worked together at Clear Review, our audience was HR, and HR are pretty serious people in general, but we noticed that there's this very much like a HR diva, like fun persona as well. So we had an event coming up, and up until then we've been quite conservative, but our boss, Dan, went away on holiday for 2 weeks, and we had to order all of the swag. And me and Emma was like, this is our moment to do something. So we printed these bags, tote bags, for an event that said annual appraisals are so 2000 and...
No. We're so over.
Oh, we're so over annual appraisals with our little logo on it. And it's nothing offensive, right? Like it's such a like gentle message, but like for us, it was like, picking it up. And then Dan got back from holiday and he saw the bags and he was like, whoa, okay. He let us use the bags and people loved it. Like they came to get the bags. People had someone had a bag framed in their office on the wall.
One of the big UK government agencies here, like really big. Great. It had like a little shrine and the bag was in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
wow.
We were like the event, like just making conversation with people, using it. Like it was great, and it was out of the comfort zone, but like it was a small little thing to start with, a bag, like something that will go away. It's not on the website forever, and it ended up being a success. And from then we really did start pushing the message and start to really get more poignant in what we're saying.
Found it. So, okay, but that leans into the third lens, and that's looking internally for business owners, right?
Yeah.
What are the biggest mistakes that you've seen, or common mistakes that you've seen around, making the branding about them, or other mistakes that they make in that area?
I think one of the biggest one is assuming that your audience is you or where you're at. As a business owner, you're going to be deeply entrenched in the topic of your business, and you're going to be way more knowledgeable and way, way further ahead of where your audience is typically. So you want to speak at the level that you're at, and you think that anything more basic than that is basically shit, but your audience is not there. So you have to match to the audience, and that can go in what you're saying, how you look, how your website works, what your sales cycle is like. All of those things are like really there. And I had a client who was extremely knowledgeable in carbon credits, and like he was like just knew everything and he was on top of all of the news. But when we actually had a look at the ICP, these people were just starting their journey of even discovering what sustainable in their companies can look like. They had no fucking clue about carbon credits. I was like, dude, we have to take it way back. So in our content planning, we put in like a carbon credit savviness, and we rated it out of 10 for every audience when we did a piece of content. So we knew where to hit that, but that can be really detrimental because you're not talking to your audience. You're talking to other people that know about carbon credits who's not your audience in that space. And this can be applied to literally any information business out there. I've seen it 100 times.
Yeah. And I think it's the same as like, that is probably the mistake, I think, the mistake that they make. The other one is obviously, if you go down the product path, it's like building a product, again, that's not for your ICP. So that's one of the big mistakes that founders make, is like, we're going to do this because we're going to build this feature because we think it'll be fun, we think it'll be nice. We want to put AI, this is the big thing at the moment, we want to put AI in the product because everybody's asking about AI, but with no clear idea about who that's for and what that use is for your ICP and the level of comfortableness around those features. In the same way that, like, even just naming conventions in the product, everything. So like it runs through everything, same as the buying experience, like that. I think that they should have to fill out a form in order to have a call with us. Well, that's great, but when you have to do that, do you want to do that, or do you just want to get a call in the diary and be able to see the price on the website? Like, so it goes across. That kind of goes across everything. Kind of just. I think, you know, so many people say like your job as a founder or a CEO is to hire a bunch of really freaking smart people around you who know what they're doing. And I think if you can't let that happen, you're in the wrong position. You know, if you want to run a dictatorship, I suggest you go and coach like a football team. Like, don't run a business, you know, like that's not for you.
Work by yourself.
Yeah. Whatever it is. But yeah, like if you are setting up, in particular, like we work in tech a lot. If you're setting up a tech company, you need really smart people who get your audience, really get your audience, and, you know, and want to do, and that's the like classic mistake that we see. Like, they can't relinquish control, basically, and then sometimes they think they are, and you're like, no.
I know we've gone on a bit, but I've got one more point to make. You've really like gotten us
stirred the juices,
gotten us going. One other point is, a lot of the times founders think that their problem is the branding or the name. And when you actually break down the effects of doing a rebrand or changing their name and the money you're going to spend on that, and saying, hey, what if we spent this money on X? The comparison usually never pans out. So I think that's the other thing. They don't think about the lost opportunities when it came to that spend elsewhere and going for the rebrand or going for the name change, whatever it might be, not evaluating like the lost opportunity.
Yeah, and making sure that, hey, you know, we have our position clear, which can do a lot more work rather than, say, for example, a logo change or name change.
Yeah, or even like commissioning some original research. That can absolutely put you in a whole different space compared to your competitors, and it will cost way less than a rebrand and have much more effect. But just if you don't think about the alternatives, you just think that that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, I think if you think that the way that your website looks or your logo looks is the problem, I think it's not. That's not what the problem is. I think I'd take it back to looking at the whole customer journey. Look at everything, not just the marketing.
Exactly. And don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're enjoying this episode. All right, let's talk about doing it right. I know we've just poked all the holes, and you know, everyone's probably feeling a little bit sensitive right now.
Worked up. A bit attacked.
Slightly attacked. Okay. So let's talk about doing it right. So when business owners are approaching their brand and their marketing, what's the mindset they should go into it with?
It depends where you're at, right? So if you've already done a bunch of marketing and you're unhappy, which is probably why you're looking to do a rebrand of some sort or a repositioning because you think that something's not working, you have to figure out what the problem is. So if you hire someone to do this for you, they have to dig deep and figure out what the actual issue is, because it's probably not your logo colors and it's probably not, you know, your website layout. So gather all the data you can gather all the information, like from your customers, from your teams, from all of the teams, and really try to get to the bottom of it. before you touch any hex codes.
Yep. I think you've got to go into it with a really open, it's that openness and that ability to accept the constructive feedback. That's the thing. It's like, if you're feeling a bit vulnerable because as Ruta says, things are not working out, you need to get yourself to a place where you're ready to hear. It's not bad news. It's like, the good news is always with this stuff, it can be fixed, right? Because that's the truth. Like, Ruta and I go into businesses all the time where there might have been a bit of a mess, but the reality is we can fix it if you're prepared to put in the effort and the time. But you have to also be open to hearing what's not worked and then listening to how to fix it and get behind that. So if you're not in a position where you feel like you can be open, you need to get yourself there. And that's a personal thing. That's like super, super personal. That's like, you might need to go get some therapy. You might need to go trek up Everest and look into the sunset, whatever the hell it is you need to do to get yourself into that place. But if you are not ready to hear constructive feedback, don't touch it.
Also, this happens a lot. You come in, do an audit, and they're like, I don't think that's what it is. And it's like, how the data literally says that that's what it is. And just people don't want to hear it. And you walk away and you're like, well, that was a waste of your time and mine.
Well, yeah, especially
thank you for the payment, but
especially because
nothing happened here.
Let's be honest, like a thorough brand or marketing audit or go-to-market strategy audit, whatever it might be, is going to be expensive. I mean, we talk to people quite often who have got like audit fatigue, who are like, no, I don't want you to do an audit. I just want you to write a strategy. I don't even want you to write a strategy. I just want you to get on with it and fix it. It's like, that is because, I mean, you potentially have worked with a load of charlatans who've sold you something terrible. That's the first problem. But equally, it's that openness, isn't it? It's like, you're not ready to hear this stuff. I get it, but you will just be paying for nothing if you're not in a place where you can hear the feedback.
And I think also, if you're looking for somebody externally, whether it's a consultant or an agency, they need to, push back on what it is that you need and want, and actually try and understand. Because if they just come in and they're like, we'll do all of this and we'll do all of this and it's all good, they're not actually going to be delivering impact, because they don't understand what the problem is.
We actually always say that we collectively have probably put off quite a lot of people from working with us because we are so honest.
And we turn away work as well. Like if an agency or a consultant is not willing to turn away work, something's wrong, because none of us can perfectly accommodate every client that comes across like our Zoom calls. Is that anything to say?
Yeah. Biggest red flag right there. If it's always like a yes. Yeah, there's a problem. Like, and so if we're turning this around, right? And you want to make sure that your team, so say, for example, your marketing, right, are getting on board the voice, the positioning, etc. What are your thoughts on getting them on board and keeping it relevant without killing their souls and feeling like, oh my God, you're adding so much work to me?
I feel like the work shouldn't be adding, it should be replacing. So if you're adding, it's bad. We talked about that. If you're replacing work, it's good. But again, you have to be careful, because you want to replace slowly to make sure that you're not destroying something that is successful and is working. So Emma and I usually say 80% of what works and 20% of new things. So if you've got a new positioning rolling out, that 20% that you're experimenting with should be all in the new positioning. And then what works, you put into the 80%, and then you go back to trying new stuff.
And let marketing help figure out how what that rollout looks like, right? Because that's the other thing. It's
their
like,
job.
It's like the thing that I hate is that it's like, oh, right, so we've done all this great optimization and CRO on the website, and now we've got a new positioning, and it's like can completely potentially fuck all that up. And so I think help, like starting out and knowing that it doesn't have to be a wham bam, thank you ma'am, and now we're going to have a brand campaign, which is what so many people do.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Let's be like, right, so we're just going to change the hero on the website to be in line with the positioning. then we're going to do this, then we're going to do that. And like, there's like a slow burn timeline that's happening in the background to get everything up to speed. That is something that marketing can get on board with. It's more palatable. Whereas someone saying, yeah, let's change everything overnight and then make a big fuss of it is just not, that's going to detract from any kind of real demand generation work that your marketing team are doing on. And then they're going to be like, fuck brand, fuck this shit.
And then whoever asked them to do the rebrand is going to get mad that there's no leads coming in because the marketing team has been doing a rebrand for 3 months and not campaigns and lead generation.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. Equally, for like senior leaders, if there is a rebrand going on and it's an insistence that it's not just positioning, maybe there is some design stuff, you do have to understand that does take up the amount of time and bandwidth that takes up for the marketing team, especially because marketing teams ain't getting any bigger. Let's be real. That if you expect them to do that, then the other stuff is going to fall by the wayside. So you have to think about how you're going to resource that properly. And if you're not prepared to resource it properly, again, don't touch it. Don't do it.
Yeah, that is something that I think it's too much out there. The idea of like building up to a grand launch, right? Rather than having that progressive change towards like a fresh position, a fresh direction, fresh, like, refined voice, have it slowly adapt. Yeah, people like might not notice over that time, but like by the time it's fully changed and you look back to 1 year before that, you're like, it's clear, and you're less likely to see that friction, that lost trust, loyalty, even the impact on the revenues, right? Suddenly overnight, you've just decided to offend your existing audience. Like, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Jaguar.
One of the other things about positioning in particular that I find so painful, I've done quite a lot of positioning work over the last year with some of my clients. One of the things that drives me nuts is the inability to ever sign a position off. Like, why is it like, I've got two examples because I did one with a client where basically the positioning could never be signed off because there was a committee. It's like, designed by committee, absolute nightmare. But, it's a partner-led organization and you can just never get a yes to like, yes, this is the positioning. So all that's happening is that everything else is just churning away in the background and we're never getting closer to being able to explain what it is that your company does. So we can't connect with people and it's just getting really messy. And then on the other side, did positioning for another client where we ran some really little LinkedIn experiments with different positioning, different messaging. The ICP came back, told us very clearly which one they liked the best with a piece of content attached and a message. And we were like, right, well, we're going to just give this one a go. Going to have it in the hero of the homepage for a bit, see if that resonates with people. If it doesn't resonate with people, we're going to use one of the other ones. And it was like, yep, great. Done. Like positioning done within like 4 weeks.
Perfection.
I think there's a thing with brand and positioning where people think they complete it.
It's like do or die, isn't it?
Like you don't complete brand or positioning.
No, it's evolving.
Always evolving.
Yeah.
So even if you do this big brand and positioning project and you change everything, guess what? You're going to keep changing it. Like it's never done. So just bearing that in mind is really important to not get caught up.
I mean, I do think that it needs to have one major change if you've been doing business for a while. But then after that, it should just be little pivots.
Yeah.
Right? Because you've really established or honed in, okay, these are the values we stand for. Great. Everybody knows it. This is the positioning. This is the voice. Okay. So then it's like looking at the environment.
Yeah.
And like how that reflects. And look, I know you guys were just talking about this before, and it's like the documentation that you get. And sometimes you're like, okay, we need to get this. But sometimes it's like, this is just too much. So what do you think, like in terms of documentation, what actually gets used and what should just never have been created?
you need one slide on colors and fonts. One slide. That's it. Yeah. And then one document that I actually find is rare but really useful is your company stances.
Oh, yes.
So the things that you say as your company about the things that you do and how you express that, I think that's much more useful than like a tone of voice or a, that kind of thing. So I think one slide on colors and fonts, one slide on stances, and I had another slide in my mind, one slide on ICP.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. That's probably all you need.
Yeah, I like when you've got your ICP, or like if there are personas within your ICP, to have maybe like some differentiation in language. Like we had this for Clear Review. We had this sort of like there were quite a lot of businesses that bought Clear Review that were really forward thinking. So we kind of have a different set of language when we're targeting those people to when people are slightly behind the curve with the tech, where we need to kind of really talk about the like challenges and the problems those people have in order to get their buy-in. So I like that kind of thing. I can't stand a like 20-page tone of voice document that is like trying to cover for all eventualities, because I just think, well, marketing are never going to use that ever. I'm never going to look at that. So if it's stuff I can't actually tangibly use, like I say, examples of language, and the bit about, like, I do quite like a messaging house. It's maybe a bit traditional.
I feel like it's a stances thing, though.
It's the stances. It's like how do we talk about the product? And how do we
and the issues that the product solves?
Yeah.
Like, what is our take? What is our opinion on those issues?
Yeah,
I think that's a useful. It's kind of messaging, but I guess it's the same thing.
It is. Yeah. It is, because it's basically breaking down, different aspects of what you do. How do you talk about it? Like, even just like, for example, like the customer success, customer service aspect of what your business does is really good to have that really clear. Because it's like, do you want to talk about the fact they handhold? Do you want to talk about the fact it's self-serve? Like, how do you want to talk about that? And I think all of that is super useful. So I think and that's it. I don't want anything else. I don't want a page that's got a picture that says Dusty. Oh yeah, really helpful.
So not 69 pages like books, or a single word which could mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would it look like for marketing and brand teams or people to actually work together on the day-to-day? What do you envision?
Same team, same boss at the top, not two separate teams. And both teams are invested in the other's work. I know that's a very impractical example, but like, to sum up, that's...
Yeah. What I don't want, and what I have experienced as a marketer, is having to go to brand for sign off. I don't want that. I don't need that. Like, the brand's been translated to marketing. Yeah, but the brand person should be sitting across, should definitely report into whoever it is at the top of the marketing food chain. Totally agree. But they should be working across the different businesses. So I would expect a brand strategist to be relatively senior. And I would expect them to be, working with customer success, product, across all of those things for continuity, and
bringing that back, right?
Yeah, bringing that back into the marketing team. So when we are planning things out, the brand strategist's job in the marketing context is to support from that point of view, to be like, that's not quite how we talk about that thing, or
there's a new product thing, and how can we tie that into what you're doing?
And the big one for me is customer marketing. Like, if you're doing customer marketing, that brand person being able to support with how you're positioning the product and everything to the customers, I think is really important. So I do think, I know I don't know, Beatrice, if you agree, but I feel like the CMO or the CRO is the right person for the brand person to be reporting into.
By the way, also, if you're listening to this, we're from tech. like SaaS tech, not B2C. That's why.
Yeah. B2C, I can see brands sitting outside of that because you're big enough, maybe, but not in B2B. I don't. Yeah. I think if you've got an ops person, maybe it's the COO.
So the way that I see it, and I know, Emma, you were just looking at me going, okay, yeah, I see you have opinions there, is that brands shouldn't be under marketing because it does have it should have so much influence on the entire operations. So putting it under marketing kind of limits that in many circumstances that I see. And of course, it depends on how the business is structured, right? But I do see it as maybe it's one person, right? But there should be that oversight, not as in being signing off on everything, because I think that's also ridiculous. I completely agree with you. But to have those conversations, to be able to pivot, right? To be like, okay, speaking to customer service, they just found out this, and then speaking to market, have you noticed this in the content? Have you noticed this so having those communication points there, so you are able to easily adapt. So maybe there's a balance between these two ideas.
I think it's more so there are a couple of other marketing parts of marketing, if you like, because I know brand obviously touches marketing, but it's not just marketing. We totally acknowledge that. But there are other bits of the marketing mix that have a similar,
like graphic design, customer marketing,
customer advocacy, even product marketing to a certain point. There are these overlaps where you feel like they shouldn't really sit with the general marketing. But I guess it's actually, again, this goes back to the way that the business is set up and the business is run for me more than anything. It's like you can have a brand, like a head of brand that sits underneath the CMO, dotted line in, but because they have been given the autonomy to go and be in everyone's business and be really working with the HRD, the director of customer success, whoever it is, because they've got that autonomy and that's their remit and they're allowed to go and do that, that to me works just fine. Whereas if that person doesn't have the autonomy, they have to sit outside of it because otherwise you don't get your seat at the top table. But yeah, I think in the ideal world setup, I would have it that way because I think it's in the same way that I think marketing needs allies, brand has got to have allies. So to sit under a CMO is probably good because you have that ally who gets it. Whereas the likelihood of some of the other heads of department understanding what brand should be is hard, unlikely. Yeah. In the same way for marketing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more like how can you have an ally that's in your camp if you're in a company that doesn't get it?
Because also otherwise you'll just end up doing the slides.
Yeah.
You'll be the brand person just making slides. So you gotta sit somewhere where you can actually talk to people and make an impact.
Yeah, I had, when we worked together, I was head of customer advocacy, and that role obviously clearly sits within marketing, but equally my fingers, I was just a nosy bitch in everyone's business, talking to everyone, regularly chatting to them.
But you could have sat in CS.
I could have sat in customer success. I could have actually sat in product.
Exactly.
Because you're running customer advisory boards and you're involved in beta testing and all that kind of stuff. So you can so easily sit in other places.
Depends on who's got budget as well. Sit on the team that's got money.
Yeah. Because your CMO, if you are going to do anything brand-wise, surely it's the CMO that's going to sign it off, isn't it?
It's a very fair point there. And okay, I know that there's something that we also probably have a difference of opinion on, and that's your brand versus your product. I'll leave it to you guys first. What are your thoughts?
Our bias is B2B tech. So a lot of the time the product comes first, then the brand comes second, because it's whatever the product does and then you build whatever marketing and brand around it that you want. It's not the other way around. The only other way around is probably founder-led brand building and marketing. I think the product should reflect who you are as a brand. But again, in the B2B tech world, marketing and brand, getting any sway on product is so hard. Like, now and impossible. Never been in a company where marketing feeds into product ever. So whilst I would love that, it is not the reality. So for the most part, the product are doing what the product are doing, and you're going to have to make it work in marketing
and brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I do see that. Say, for example, if it's a crappy product, maybe if you have good marketing, you've positioned it well. I don't think it matters that you have a crappy product.
Oh no!
It depends on what you mean by crappy. If by crappy you mean there is no use for it, then no.
I mean, it needs to have a purpose for it.
Polished.
Because assuming they're able to do their job well, right? Marketing and brand, they're like the best of the best, creme de la creme.
It's really hard to out-market a crappy product in tech because there's so much alternatives. At least in our experience, and we're in like B2B as well. We're not in fun tech by any means.
Not sexy tech.
Tech. So I think it's hard to outmarket shitty tech or tech that's not positioned correctly in the right market, which also happens.
Yeah,
it's really hard to outmarket a bad product positioning.
I mean, imagine, okay, what if it's a service? What if it's, say, for example, you're still B2B, but you're providing a service, or B2B in your e-commerce. I think, okay, yes, like it does depend. There's a certain amount of bad reviews that you can deal with before just taking a tank. Word of mouth is very strong, and it's going to be stronger than many other aspects. So
I also think there's a thing that happens where maybe your marketing is really, really good. So you build up expectation, and then someone takes a demo or sees like a sample of your work, and they're like, this does not match up to the like amazing marketing you're doing, which is also a deterrent, I think, at least for me. Maybe it's because I'm in the marketing bubble, so I think about these things. Maybe if you're not a marketer and you're buying tech, it's different.
Well, it goes back to who your ICP is, right? Because if your ICP are more risk averse, then and everything looks like smoke and mirrors, like, oh, this looks very flashy, but there's no free trial, or there's no screenshots on the website, or like I've got to speak to 10 people before I get the pricing. Like, that makes me think it's shit. That makes me instantly like, ooh. Whereas when I can access the product and I can see it for myself, like the product does the talking, in quite often in our world. In services is a weird one, right? Because obviously a lot of services, you can have a great brand and you can have great marketing, but if the person on the receiving, if you are the person delivering the service and you're shit,
exactly,
people are going to be like, I love that company, but I've had my service, my person is changed over to someone else, and I don't like them anymore. And you will stop using that service,
right?
Agencies, it happens a lot. And
also a lot of services are relationship based. So you bring your clients with you when you go to different companies, and then like the marketing of the company can be good, but that's not really how you're making money.
And that's where brand's role is more probably on the kind of like employee recruitment side, the like customer success, customer service side, the delivery side, and less on the marketing side, because it is so relationship, and like you say, word of mouth is probably the most damaging. It's the most powerful and the most damaging.
Emma has coined a term, badvocacy.
Yep.
So instead of advocacy, that's good and helps, it's badvocacy when you do it's bad and bad things happen.
When you do, because that word of mouth is lovely and it's great, but it's a lot harder to get people to say nice things about you than to say bad things. Like, people will always say bad shit about you. They will always focus on the negative. It's just the human condition, right? So, that's very difficult to overcome. So that's where brand has to do that part of the job, has to support those other bits of the business that like are to do with building relationships.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's I think a sign for business owners to be weary, where there are cases, and, you know, you look on any kind of social media where the front side looks amazing, the marketing is amazing, the website's amazing, everything's like super smooth, but then you reach the actual, you know, you've pressed pay,
Yeah.
and that's when people get burned. So it's really going beyond that and having those questions with that end service, with that end person.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one question that I ask everyone that comes on board here, and that is, what is one social norm that you want to push back against and teach others about?
As in just like social
Any
norm.
social norm.
Any social norm. Oh, that's a good question.
Oh,
Got to pick a good answer. Have you got one?
Oh, I don't know. This is going to be a bit weird. I feel like I can handle this. I don't think everybody can handle this, but I feel like people not being like, just like truly honest, like going with their gut feel. Like people will not be honest. So what I want to push back against is when you're in a meeting and you hear something that you think is a terrible idea, or you hear, you know, not just being, I don't say you don't have to be brutally honest. You can obviously like, you know, give people the shit sandwich. They're like, but I would like, yeah, just more honesty, people just really telling you how they feel about stuff.
Less politics.
Less politics, yeah, that falls into that category. I hate the back channeling crap that goes on in companies. Like, just fucking say what you mean.
Oh, if only.
Yeah. This is a hard question. I think for me, it's judging how good people are at what they do by what they look like and sound like. So I know I can get a lot more work if I change what I look like and how I show up and sound like, but that's not who I am, nor do I think that that's something that you should be judging me on. So I choose not to do that, probably to my own detriment, but I wish that was more normalized, because then we could not be corporate robots. We could actually bring fresh things to the table, and especially in marketing and business, that's needed. Like that, without that, like you're not going to get far. So I think that's kind of mine.
I like that.
I mean, especially with recently, there was an interview with Cody Sanchez in it, and she was saying there's statistics showing that women that wear makeup get paid like more. They get more business, and it's sad. It's frustrating, but
I did have someone once say to me, like, I turned up to obviously when we do the podcast, it's no guess that we put a face full of makeup on, right?
Yeah.
Which is great and awful at the same time. That we turned up to a business meeting, and what I normally dress like is, as my boyfriend describes, like a teenage boy who's just rolled out of bed. And I will turn up to business meetings like that because I'm the same as Ruta. I refuse to do the like, this is me, I'm going to put on my client shirt and I'm going to be because I want people to think I'm professional. I'm like, no, the work speaks for itself. And I did have someone once be like, not sure if you're quite the right fit.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay.
Okay,
We all know.
bye.
Yeah.
All right.
We all know what happens.
Thank you so much, Emma and Ruta. And to you, my badass listener, thanks for tuning in. And if you love this episode, a 5-star review goes a long way. Now, let's go get badass.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids. The art of positioning.
So like before we start, Ruta, I just want to confirm your surname. It's Sudamantantaite, is it?
Just some of them titties, because we can't say her surname. So if you would like to just
you
call her that. Yeah. If you want to refer to her as that, she doesn't mind.
Yeah.
We send her post to her house that
Yeah.
says,
Okay.
"Root to some of them
Yeah.
titties," and then she knows it's from one of us.
Yeah.
That's staying.
Yeah. It's Jabs' like,
I'm dying.
I can say this.
So since season 1, I've always like, at least for the intro, I've given like people's full names and like even the more complicated ones. I'm like, you know what? I want to show people I can say people's name correctly. I'm
Let's freaking go.